The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome and get ready for high vibe nutrition. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Guys, give me a quick sound check and let me know if the sound is doing okay. And let me know if you can hear me okay. Jane, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here and I'm excited to get started. All right. So we are going to get started in just a second here. Welcome, 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 welcome everyone. Welcome Cheryl. Thank you for being here. Welcome Diana. Welcome Linda. And thank you so much for giving me feedback about the sound. I really appreciate it. Okay. So there is a handout for you with some recipes and information. So go ahead and check that out. And hello, welcome, and thank you so much for being here. I am super excited. I've been so looking forward to sharing this information with you, and I've just been waiting for the right timing of everything to happen, for everything to come together to share this with you. So I am so thrilled that our tribe, our biofeedback tribe is here. And thank you for those of you. A lot of people have signed up for the class already who are here. This will still be a wonderful introduction. So I'm glad that you're here. I have so much important information to share with you. Tonight's session is being recorded, so we will also send out the recording. You can share the recording with anybody that you would like to share this information with. It's incredibly important information. Now, those who know me, all of you hopefully, know that I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I've been teaching you the principles of energy medicine and biofeedback for some time now, and it's been my great pleasure to do that. So I visit with many of you about your health. Some of you have autoimmune conditions, some have Parkinson's, some have weight issues they're dealing with, some have diabetes. And my feeling is I haven't been able to communicate this information to you in a neatly packaged and organized way, in a way that I could really help you. And that's what this course is about. Tonight, you're going to get fabulous information, whether you join the course or not. But I hope you will join the course even if you don't want to change a thing about what you're eating, or you're resistant to it, or you're afraid to change. But I want you to know this information so that when you're teaching other people, when you're talking to other people in the course of biofeedback, you can help them. The more that you dive into this information and the more that you understand the science behind it, the more you will be able to help other people. And things will start making a lot of sense to you, and you will be helping people in an incredible way because you have two wonderful things at your disposal: the Genius Biofeedback System and the knowledge of high vibe nutrition. So this is also going to be the basis for our year-long course for natural health practitioners, natural health biofeedback practitioners. So if you're interested in natural healing and biofeedback, we combine that for our year-long course that goes through many important topics in health today, like cancer, like autoimmune disease, like diabetes. And when you really learn these principles, you guys, you will be invincible. You will be helping so many people. We're not teaching you to be doctors, but we are teaching you to be health educators. So you're both an energetic practitioner, directing the energy with biofeedback, but you can share information about wellness without being called practicing medicine without a license. So that is what I'm going to be teaching you, is how to share the principles of wellness. And when you share the principles of wellness and combine them with biofeedback, You will be helping so many people, it will blow your mind. And so when we have this correct information about nutrition, I believe it will be very helpful. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Have you ever, I guess, take a little poll and let me know, have you guys ever heard of starch-centered nutrition? And when you think about starch, what do you think about? Probably think about something kind of strange. We'll be talking about that this evening. Have you ever thought about the vibrational quality of food and thought, I wonder what happens when I eat these certain foods? I mean, if I put these vibrations in my body, could they affect my body? Is the vibration of the food that I take into my body affecting me? If you think about it, it's like biofeedback. You are entraining that frequency into your being. So we have a lot to talk about. And this is empowering information that you can start to use right away. So I just couldn't wait to meet with you. I'm just so excited. So Karen, thank you so much for being here. Barbara, thank you. Benay, woohoo! Thank you so much for being here. Elfie is here. Jane, Judith, thank you for being here. Sandy is here. Mary, thank you so much. And I know, Mary, you signed up for the class. I'm looking forward to you being part of the class. So this is an introduction to our 4-part series that starts next Wednesday, not next Thursday, but next Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Central, and 8 o'clock if you're in the Eastern time zone. This class, you can register for it on my website at geniusbiofeedback.com. You will be receiving a link to register right after this. The price does go up on March 23rd. It goes up $50. If you need installments to take the class, there are 2 installment plans on the website for 3 monthlies of $83 a month or 2 monthlies of $123. If that doesn't work for you, you need longer installments, whatever it is that you need. If you're part of this community, I want to support you in taking this class. So let's make it possible for you to get there, because it will affect all of the work that you're doing in biofeedback. When you can share lifestyle with the right helpful lifestyle with people that you're helping with biofeedback, it will go a really long way. All right, so thank you again, you guys, for being here. And feel free to put your comments down in the comments section. Diane is here. Diane, wonderful. I can see you as Diane. You're great. Karen is here. Thank you, Karen. Karen H and Karen M. They're both here. Thank you, you guys. And you can put comments down below, and I'll come back to your comments and questions. There is also a handout that you can download. If you can't see it in your control panel, I can send it to you afterwards. So it has some important information about nutrition, and some great recipes. So if you like pancakes or you like avocado toast, those recipes are there for you. Sandra, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited that you've joined us. Thank you so, so much. Okay, so let's get into some of this information. Even if you came today just for the free class, you will get a lot of information. So high vibe nutrition is about considering the vibration of nutrition, the photonic light of nutrition, how that light is affecting your body, how those resonant and coherent frequencies are coming into your field, and how you're entraining them. Many of you are familiar with this through the concept of essential oils. Many of you are Young Living distributors, and you know that when you take in an oil, have you guys heard this? That when you take in the high vibration of the oil, you entrain that frequency. When you take in the vibration of the genius, what you're doing is you're entraining those frequencies that are generated by the genius. So we're bringing this concept to food. What kind of vibration do you think that a green juice has, or what kind of vibration do you think a tomato has compared to something else? What kind of vibration would a potato have compared to maybe an egg? So it turns out that these plant-based foods, we find have very high levels of vibration, and we can see these on Kirlian photography. And it's very likely that as we take these vibrations in, that they're entraining into our system. We can also consider all the other vibrations, the vibration of the words that we're saying, right? Chanting and thinking things like Om or Om Mani Padme Hum, or saying positive affirmations. It's very likely that those were entraining very high vibrations. And when we say high vibrations, we mean vibrations that are more conducive with our being coherent. So coherent means the highest level of physiology that's possible for us to have. So when we're at a high vibration, that means that all of our organs and systems are working really well. So we want to find that wonderful Hertz frequency. And we don't want to necessarily vibrate at a lower level. So things like anger and four-letter words and being frustrated or being resentful tend to be associated with a lower vibration. And thinking thoughts of love and giving and service tend to raise our vibration. You can almost feel it when you talk about it. And so foods, fruits, vegetables, plant-based foods, sweet potatoes, we think of those as being filled with photonic light. In fact, the sunlight helps us to vibrate at a higher frequency. And all of those foods are filled with light. So let's keep that in mind as we sort of go through this. And there are other parts of this. This high vibe nutrition is not at all about drinking juices and eating a couple of bananas. It's not like that at all. High vibe nutrition, the way that I am sharing it with you, is very satiating, very satisfying, and it really follows the tradition of how human beings have consumed foods for the last 10,000 years. So it's not a starvation plan at all. It's very, very filled with all the things that you need to keep you healthy. So as I said, and welcome everyone who's just joined us, and welcome if you're watching on the recording, I've been teaching biofeedback and natural health principles for a while, since going back to 2012. Those of you who've been in our community for a while know that. And I've been spending a lot of time with you, and I get concerned when I talk with some of you and you tell me you're consuming a ketogenic plan or a paleo plan. And I've been studying all about health in earnest since really the end of 1998, the beginning of 1999. At least officially, I've been interested in health since about 1990, when I lost some of my family members in a period of about 1 to 2 years. And that sparked a feeling of wanting to be a healer inside of me. And since that time, then I progressed into going to a 4-year medical college, which is called Naturopathic Medical College. And that journey started for me 20 years ago. And I honestly and earnestly wanted to know what the right food was and how I could help people to heal the best. And I have been taken on a crazy journey of trying to figure that out. The type of nutrition that I'm teaching in high vibe nutrition is not what I learned in naturopathic college. Naturopathic college was the eat right for your blood type diet. And I have to tell you that a lot of my naturopathic colleagues, in my opinion, are not getting the information right, and they could be helping a lot more people. So it took me a long time, but when I finally got the information that I needed, it hit me like a thunderbolt. And I was so relieved. And so I have clarity on this now after lots and lots of research, and I want to share this information with you. So again, I visit with you, we talk, I get calls from people who tell me I'm in so much pain, my tremors from my Parkinson's are acting up, I don't feel good, and I give them information about the genius, but when they tell me they're eating a low carb paleo plan, I cry inside for them, and I want to just give them all this information at once because I know it will help them to heal. And I know that with the best of intentions, they are poisoning themselves several times throughout the day and compromising their circulation and their nervous system flow because they don't know. And because even though we have the internet today and we have lots of access to Facebook and Instagram, it I know you can't believe this, but the quality of the knowledge is deteriorating because whoever has the most dollars can get their message out there. And so food companies have become very clever at getting their information out there about how they want you to see nutrition. And it's all over the news, and it's in all the magazines, and it's in all the Facebook feeds. And we're going to talk a lot more about that. So here you have the ability to interact with a naturopathic doctor, to ask questions and to really understand nutrition in a very different way. So, beyond, you're able to cut through all of the crap. And I'm going to show you through the science why I'm telling you what I'm telling you. So I know that you could be helping people, and that you yourself, if you're struggling from any type of a chronic illness, or if you want to release some weight, or if you have some aches and pains, or if you just want to help the people around you, I know that you could be making significantly more leaps and bounds in the work that you're doing. So again, if you came here today and you're not sure you're ready to make a change, this doesn't mean that you have to follow everything that I'm teaching for the next 4 classes, but at least give yourself the benefit of being exposed to the information. This information you might change over the next 6 months, and you might notice incremental increases. So you can change everything, and we can all do it together for the next 4 weeks, and you can have community and support. We have a private Facebook group where you can talk to people and you can share recipes and information, or you can just decide that you're not even going to change anything right now, but you're just here to observe because you might be able to help somebody else with this information. So I've created this class because I know when it's paired with the biofeedback work that you're doing, you will be invincible. You will be helping so many people around you. Now, even if you want to, like myself, so I went through different, times of learning about, eat right for your blood type, which I never followed because I came into naturopathic college as a vegan. But I went through lots of different confusion, you guys, even as a vegan, eating lots of tofu because I thought you had to get your protein. I was thinking that it would be better for a woman, that she would be skinnier if that I would be thinner if I ate lots of high protein and no carbs. I've gone to being raw vegan, where I was eating lots of fat and olive oil and avocados, and I've been through it all. And so even though I was really looking, and I consider myself a smart person, looking for the truth, it can be hard to get that. So this is where we can share this knowledge, and then you can decide what you want to do. It's up to you. So like I said, today it's more difficult to get this objective information. And part of the reason, and this is one of the most, you might be taking notes, you're welcome to take notes. This is being recorded, but you may want to just jot some things down if you want to, if something sparks you and you want to remember it. One of the most important concepts from this evening is that food companies have invested millions and millions of dollars into junk science. Around the 1980s, food companies discovered that they could convince people much more if they had research. So if they had research that was published in a nutritional journal, they could really, really convince you that you should have more of whatever their product is. And we'll see this in the 4-part class, particularly, and this is going to sound strange, in the nut industry. Walnuts, and this isn't a nut, but avocados. These industries have really been successful in getting studies published so that you think you need avocados to be healthy or you need walnuts to be healthy. This is something that's been, I hate to say it, kind of shoved down your throat with this different, what I'll call junk science. And I'm going to explain why it's junk science. These food companies determine the outcome before they fund the study. And the university and the university professor or whoever's going to run the study, the researcher, they also know that they need to have the outcome or they're not going to get the money again. So a lot of these studies are done with the end figured out in the beginning. And then what they do is they publish the study, and then it goes on NBC Nightly News, and you hear about it on the news, and then you read about it in a magazine, and then a health guru talks about it on YouTube, and then you hear it on a podcast, and you hear it again and again. It's still not true, still contrived, but that's how they're getting their message out there. And so when you listen to me and you say, Dr. Ariel, like, I'm so confused, I hear such opposing views, I want you to now look at those with a different eye and think, is it possible that this information that I'm hearing is somehow tinged with industry money? Because much of it is. And when I talk to you about how many more calories and how much more fat Americans are consuming, which is an alarming rate, it's all going to start to make sense to you. Much of nutrition in the United States, unfortunately, is a manipulation to convince you to buy certain products. And I want you to really think about that now when you're thinking about different nutritional studies that you hear. And you can bring those studies to class. We can talk about them. We can talk about the merits of them. And I'll be sharing with you the best science that I have found, a lot of which takes place, the studies before 1980 are the best studies. And we're really seeing the deterioration of science because of this. But there are still good studies out there, and we'll talk about them. So an example of this is Kraft Foods did what I call the silly salad dressing study. And they wanted to convince you, when you think about it, it sounds so silly. They wanted to convince you that in order to be healthy, when you have a salad, that you have to have dressing on it. So imagine that, right? But think about what we do. So what they did, have you ever heard that in order to absorb your minerals, oh, you have to have fat. When you sit down to eat a salad, well, everybody knows you have to have some fat in there. Well, maybe it's not salad dressing, but it has to be some walnuts or some avocado. Well, it turns out, you guys, that's totally false. The Creator gave us the ability to absorb all our minerals without having any additional fat. Additionally, when you eat rice or you eat potatoes, there's fat in there. Have you guys ever heard of rice bran oil? So rice bran oil, there's fat in potatoes, there's fat in rice. So, but they did this silly salad dressing study, and they planned at the outcome to convince you that you would absorb carotenoids only if you had the oil with the salad, like beta carotene carotenoids. But it turns out that you might, even if you had a very low fat diet for dinner and you only ate the salad, the next day, if you had a tiny, tiny bit of fat, say in your potato or your rice, you would completely absorb all of the carotenoids that you had taken in that previous night. So it was a silly study. It was a contrived study, but they figured out a way to trick you into thinking that you needed to have some soybean oil or some canola oil with a salad, and you just glob all of that fat on your previously healthy vegetables, and now it's not healthy. So you guys, if you're really into finding out the deep information, do you guys like that? Do you like to kind of get to the root cause of things and find out the secrets behind things? If you like that, then you're going to like this information, because this is where we really get to the truth. And you'd be surprised how these studies have convinced you that toxic sludge is good for you. And they can basically sell you whatever they want to sell you. And the olive oil industry does this a lot. That's why most Americans today think that olive oil is a health food. And you will be blown away at the information I'm going to share with you. It turns out that olive oil can damage your blood vessels. It can contribute to heart disease, and it can contribute to sludge in your system. And vegetable oil, it turns out, is even worse than saturated fats in terms of things like impairing the flow of blood to your eyes or blood to your kidneys. Have you guys ever heard of that? How many people previous to me saying it right now kind of thought olive oil was healthy? Let me know down in the chat area. Did you kind of think, well, of course, olive oil, that's part of a healthy diet. So this is kind of fun to uncover these truths that can help you to have better circulation and help you to be slim and trim and not struggling to lose weight, and help you not to have joint pain and have osteoporosis. It's kind of fun to figure these things out and find out why they're true. So once again, today, food companies are responsible for about 70% of the studies that you're seeing today. There are some good studies, but if you see something like butter is back and now butter is healthy, you should be skeptical. You should really, say, I wonder if that was an industry funded study. So some of you guys are thinking that I did think that olive oil was unhealthy, but then I heard it. I thought it was healthy, but then I heard it was unhealthy. But then again, I may have heard that from you. That's funny. My brother has tons of olive oil, thinking it's healthy, even on his popcorn instead of regular butter. So Sherry, I think you're really going to like this information. And Linda's my wonderful skeptic. Well, I'm not fully convinced these fats are bad. Linda, I'm glad you came tonight because I have some scientific studies to show to you. So I'm grateful that you're here. So when you hear that something that does not make sense, like butter is back, I want you to be very skeptical. So again, the olive oil industry, they not only pay for the studies, you guys, but those crazy bloggers that are out there, those crazy food gurus like Dr. Mercola and Dr. Oz, don't think that these guys are not paid by these food industry companies. You'd be naive. So start to kind of get start to question where this information is coming from. Okay, so unfortunately, there's a lot of health gurus online. And I remember seeing a Dr. Oz episode where they were eating lots and lots of cheeseburgers and trying to convince people that high cholesterol is no longer an issue. And now you can eat bacon and you can eat cheese and you can eat cheeseburgers. And I think that's the last time I watched anything on Dr. Oz because it's just so disingenuous. And when you give this information to people in the hopes of selling a product, you harm lives because somebody like Linda is thinking like, hey, Dr. Ariel, I don't believe you. And maybe you or your husband or somebody, is consuming these foods and it might be harming them. And so it's really important to know the right information, you guys. That's why I'm doing this. It's like I really genuinely, I want you to get it because it took me a really long time to figure it out. So, and part of it is because of what we're seeing here. Part of what we understand is what nutrition is. That is how we understand nutrition is really related to our culture, what people eat in the culture, what people consider normal in the culture, and also what the government is telling you. Even as a little kid, what the USDA recommendations were. You were supposed to, today you still can hardly get a school lunch without having to drink milk with it. That is disgusting, first of all, because so many kids suffer constipation, ear issues, irritable bowel syndrome because they're completely lactose intolerant. And it's shameful. It's like, I know this is, it's like child abuse. But they have to have like a no, it's still like because the USDA and industry, these are in bed together. Our government is very much lobbied by the food industry. And so all of that starts to seep into our consciousness from a very young age. When you think of calcium, you think of milk. When you think of protein, you think of chicken or beef. We're only now starting to sort of dissolve some of that. But this has taken a long time. And so a lot of what you're thinking is healthy has sort of been indoctrinated. And that's why we need the science and why we need classes like this to kind of unlearn, I hate to say it, but the brainwashing. It's because somebody wanted to sell you something and they would go to any lengths. Sometimes, sorry, you guys, I'm usually don't talk like this, but I'm trying to just be as honest with you as possible. Sometimes very immoral lengths in order to get you to get that product. And when I say immoral, it's because it would cause you to harm yourself to follow those guidelines or to follow their recommendation. All right. So I want you to be aware of the foods and nutrition that will support the very highest functioning of your cells and keep you very satisfied and satiated. So if you see this pasta and your mouth waters and your tummy grumbles and you're like, man, that looks like it would be good, this is actually your food. Now, I don't mean with meatballs, and I don't mean with cheese, and I don't mean, keep going, right? I just mean with some tomato sauce and pasta. That is healthy, and this is your food. High Vibe Nutrition is filled with plant-based food, but the most important plant-based foods are those, and I have to say, I don't think Kelly's with us, but she warned me to not say starches, so I'm going to try to say sexy starches. But you need to understand what your food is, and your food is starch. Starch means potatoes. That would be a starch-based food. Starch means rice. That's a starch-based food. Think of what people in China eat and think of traditional Chinese people. Are they very overweight? In traditional Japan, are they overweight? What do they eat? Almost 3 meals a day. They eat rice. So do these types of foods make you fat or do they make you trim? It's because they don't put a lot of butter and sour cream and so forth onto their rice. It's not the rice itself. Yet so many people have been hypnotized and thinking that they need to follow low carbohydrate diets, and as such, they forsake the most nutritious and the most satisfying foods that they could be putting in their tummies. This is your food. This is real food. This is what healthy food is. And this is food that will keep you healthy and young for a long time. By the way, in China, when they say the greeting for how are you or hello or good morning, is the literal translation is, have you had your rice today? So rice is so honored and important in China. And rice is a complete food. Rice has almost all of the nutrition that human beings need, including all of the minerals and all of the amino acids and protein. The only thing that rice is missing is vitamin A and vitamin C. So if you put a little bit of broccoli into your rice and you have rice and vegetables, you have all the nutrition that you need. And doesn't that kind of blow your mind? That's certainly not something that I learned as a kid or learned in nutrition basics. I was taught that a big slab of protein, and if it wasn't meat, it should have been tofu. But that's not true, and it robs you from taking advantage of the foods that satiate you the most. So if this information is kind of shocking to you or it's new, put information down in the chat. Or if it's like, hey, Ariel, I know this, I'm good, I have heard of this all the time, then let me know that. So Cheryl says something really, really helpful. She says, I have to change the view just to see your comments, just so you know what I'm doing over here. Cheryl says, I've heard that rice has arsenic in it. Okay, that is a very good question. And that's something we're going to explore more in this class. When you think about toxins, would you like to not worry so much about toxins in your environment as you feel like you have to? What we want to avoid is eating really high on the food chain, because when you eat beef or you eat chicken or you eat fish, especially the larger fish, you eat high on the food chain. And what toxins do, like mercury or arsenic, they're more dangerous when they accumulate up the food chain. So eating flesh, these things have the ability to accumulate and get very, very concentrated in dairy and in meat. When you eat low on the food chain, it's very unlikely you're going to be bringing these foods into your body. It's at such a lower density of toxicity. So there are a couple of things in there. Also, arsenic in rice is more prevalent in India and has been greatly overstated. If you get organic rice from California or if you get rice from Thailand, you're not getting exposed to arsenic. But the difference, the level of toxins, you guys, that you will be exposed to from eating rice versus eating chicken, I don't know how to say it nicely. It's a joke. Like, you're going to be exposed to so many more toxins and hormones and dioxin, which is prevalent in the environment, by eating chicken or eating fish, which contains PCBs and mercury. So we have to get our thinking right, and that's what part of this class is about. Also, you will not be as affected by toxins when you eat a lower fat diet. And Diana, this is what I was trying to say the other day on the weekly webinar. So they did this study of men in Japan who smoke like chimneys. They have a much lower incidence of actual lung cancer. And part of what came out of this review of the information is that when you eat a much simpler, lower fat diet, you don't seem to turn on as many tumor producing genes. So that's part of the equation as well. Even though you might be exposed to a teensy bit of arsenic in rice, you're exposed to so many more toxins by choosing milk, cheese, butter is super concentrated. And don't kid yourself that organic foods don't have toxins, organic beef or organic chicken. Things like dioxin are pervasive throughout our environment and they accumulate up the food chain. Larger foods filled with more fat contain more toxins. It's been something that's fooled even my colleagues who sometimes recommend, the environmental medicine folks who recommend ketogenic diets, and I just have to hit my head against the wall. It's really not the right thinking. The toxins you want to be most aware of are the toxins that are in your food. So Cheryl, you're thinking kind of on the right line. But again, what's happening, there are a lot of food companies that would rather have you avoid rice and eat their toxin laden offerings as a result. So there's a lot of motivation to confuse you as well. All right, Diana says, I agree with everything you're saying. It's all about keeping people sick to benefit insurance, food, and doctor industries. You guys, if we get into how much the food industry and the pharmaceutical, I always think there must be interlocking directorates between those two industries, between the food processing industry and all the hospital and doctor and pharmaceutical industry, because you're like a conveyor belt going from one to the other. And that's why I kind of say, when I get into deeper into this lecture, I say, do the step aside technique, which is, since we can't change everything in the pharmaceutical industry today or in the food processing industry, let's just step aside. Like, let's do everything we can to avoid the processed foods. And as a result, we'll avoid ever needing the pharmaceuticals. And let's step aside. The biggest way to crush an industry is to pull all of the consumer support for it. And we've seen that, like in the soda industry, they've had to switch to offering water. Poor things, right? Can be challenging not to be furious the more we learn how we're being manipulated. Yeah. And that's why I say, put all your energy to stepping aside. Put all of your energy into learning new recipes and this new way of eating. Put all your energy into learning this information that I'm teaching to you in the next 4 weeks, and it will change your life. And you'll be able to really channel that energy into something really, really positive. Okay. Good comments, you guys. Keep them coming. I love it. So even though I earnestly searched for the truth, I did not always find it. As I mentioned, I used a lot of olive oil in making kale salad mistakenly, and made all of like these avocado smoothies, and these foods were way too high in fat and probably damaged me in some way that I'm still kind of recovering from, but I'm really grateful that I've got it sorted now. So it took a long time to get clarity, and certainty, even as a naturopathic doctor, it can be confusing. And you guys, it's a bit hard for me because a lot of my colleagues are still recommending paleo and some of them are recommending keto. And I just go like, oh my gosh, they could also be helping a lot more people. So I have some really amazing, positive, uplifting information, some high vibe information to share with you. So first of all, let's talk about what you could get from doing this. Like, for all of your efforts, what would be the benefits, right? Before you go out embark onto this journey. So some of the benefits you could get from following the high vibe nutrition plan that I'm going to share with you would be amazing circulation and protection from heart disease. And I'm not just promising that to you. I am going to show you the science behind that. I'm even going to show you pictures tonight demonstrating that. So longevity and a slowed aging process, improved cognitive nutrition, cognitive function, and the prevention of dementia and Alzheimer's. So a lot of you ask me about Alzheimer's and the genius, but this is a way that you can pair this with the information you're doing on the genius. And if you follow this nutrition, a high vibe nutrition, you will have so much better circulation. And the prevention of Alzheimer's is about keeping the circulation to the brain going. So it's just a principle you can even think about for yourself when you're considering different foods. Does this food support the optimal nutrition the optimal circulation in my body? If it does, then I'm going to consume it. If it's going to impede my circulation, I'm not going to be a part of this. So saturated fats like butter, just as an example, would not really celebrate the circulation in your body. And we're going to look at a picture of this. We can see serious delayed circulation to the conjunctiva, the blood vessels in the eyes, after consuming like a butter-laden meal. Significantly less blood flow. Well, if there's significantly less blood flow to your eyes, that means that there's significantly less blood flow to your whole brain. So then, therefore, following logic, you could say, I probably want to avoid butter because I'd like not sludgy blood and I'd like good circulation. Problem solved. On to the next thing. So, for example, do you know somebody who has heart disease when you're talking about good circulation with high vibe nutrition? Do you maybe know somebody who's had stents or a bypass? You know, often when they get stents, which is where they put this little metal piece in to keep the valve open because it's closed due to plaquing and poor diet. Basically, that's the main cause of heart disease, is eating saturated fats, basically eating flesh-based foods, anything that had as we say, a mother or a face, right? Eating dairy products, eggs, and so forth, and eating oils. That's what causes heart disease. We know that now. And so people who have stents put in think that once they have the procedure, they're good to go. And I know people who've had them and their cardiologist is like, hey man, you're good to go now. And for a few days, they don't have chest pain. They're feeling good. But guess what, you guys? If you have cardiovascular disease in a vessel, do you guys think there's just one vessel of the body or two vessels of the body that are the issue? If you have cardiovascular disease in one vessel, you probably have it everywhere in your body. And you can look around you, and if somebody has toe fungus, or if they have like spider veins, or they have what are called like telangiectasias, those little blood vessels that you see, things like that tell you that they don't have patency, they don't have good circulation, or if they get really cold hands and feet, they don't have good circulation. It's very likely it's something in their nutritional plan. So yeah, if you have heart disease somewhere, you have it everywhere. And the only solution that we know of and has been proven, and Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn has proof of this for over 30 years with the people that he's worked with, is to change your food. It's not to take statins. Did you guys know that the drug companies, I know you can't believe this, they falsified the information about statins, and the true information is about statins. Well, they didn't really falsify it, they just really covered it up so you can't see it. But what percentage do you think, if you take a statin, it will decrease your risk of getting a heart attack? So just go ahead and put it in the chat. What percentage do you think, just take a wild guess. So if you take a statin, what is the percentage that you will get decreased chance of having, because you're taking it, right? You're paying money for it. And you're also taking a great risk because you could get all types of liver problems and muscle aches and muscle fatigue. There's all types of side effects with statin drugs. So what would be the percentage of decreased risk you would expect to see if you were taking a statin? What would you expect? What's your guess there? So you guys are savvy folks here. I like it. Well, you guys actually, some of you are saying 75% from CATA. That would be a good guess. And we've got 0%, none, etc. I like all of that. But it's actually 1%, exactly 1% decrease in your risk of having a heart attack. So is that worth it? I was just reading that statin drugs are about to become $1 trillion the world's first drug that has made a total of $1 trillion. And they copycat those drugs on purpose. One makes a Lipitor, the next one makes a Crestor. And I think a lot of those companies are inter-owned. They're sort of interlocking directorates again. And they know if they do copycat drugs, the whole statin drug industry will sell more. It's like sort of like through competition. If there's more of them, somehow they manage to increase the sales of them. But I don't know if you guys know this, if you've ever read a book called Selling Sickness, and you guys probably understand this concept, but the drug companies reduced the amount of cholesterol. So it used to be LDL of like 130. And so for about 10 years, from the year 2000 till 2010, they kept reducing the LDL guidelines. So first it was 130, then it was like 110, then it was 100. It went down to 100. And so you might be thinking, well, Ariel, what does that mean? Why is that important? It's because when they change the standards, then everybody below the standard, above the standard, becomes a new customer. So if you could switch from having 10 million customers at 130 LDL, and if you lower the guidelines to 100, now you have 15 million customers who are going to their doctors who are saying, oh, well, your LDL is now 105. You need a statin. Well, guess who were on the board, the advisory board that changed the standards? Guess who were the people, the 12 individuals? Of the 12 individuals, how many people would you think had connections to the drug industry? So something like 8 out of 12 had financial connections to the drug industry. So just change the standard, lower the standard, and you can create more sick people and you can increase your business. And I never really think about there being any type of bad folks in the world. Like, I really want to believe in the best and everybody has a good heart. But when I think about these drug companies, I really do think that there might be a couple of exceptions or people who are very, very confused in the world. So let's see what you guys had to say to that. Okay, yeah, they lowered the guidelines for hormones. Absolutely right on, says Benet. So Karen guessed 11 out of the 12 people. It was only 8, but you guys get the idea. They create their customers. There's a lot of really good documentation that they try to think of new sicknesses, and they plan the drug in advance of inventing the new illness. For example, things like restless leg syndrome or social anxiety disorder. So they came up with the drug, and then they start all of the information about the sickness that you have. So we'll talk more about that. And that's going to be something we'll talk about in the year-long class coming up as well, which is called medical mongering. Medical mongering. Like, one thing I'm going to be encouraging you guys as much as possible, and a lot of you guys are already on this boat, is that if you want to stay as healthy as possible, try to stay out of your doctor's office. And in the year-long course, we're going to have many discussions about the merits of mammograms and things like that. It's going to be really, really good. Okay, so yes, there is a solution to heart disease and having stents. So this A on the left-hand side looks like a moth-eaten vessel on an angiogram. And you could imagine, you may not be familiar with seeing these types of imaging, but what's on the left side in A means that you ain't going nowhere. Like, you having a heart attack, like you have severe chest pain and you are in severe risk of losing your life. And this was so severe that they couldn't even, for some reason, they couldn't do a bypass on this person. It was a young person in his 40s who worked with Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn at the Cleveland Clinic. And so after 32 months on a plant-based diet without even a cholesterol-lowering medication, look at the profound improvement. And this type of a plan is the high vibe nutrition plan that we're talking about, which is a higher carbohydrate, whole food, starch-based plan with relatively low fat and relatively low protein. And I'm going to explain all of that. Now, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, but you guys, the way I'm teaching you, I promise your tummy and your belly will be so happy and so satisfied. And again, a little at a time. So if you can't do it, or you think, oh my gosh, I can't start this, just come for the information. That change might happen after we're done, or it might happen a little bit at a time, or it might happen from adding a meal in here or there and just seeing how it goes. I mean, when I first discovered this and I really, really got it, I was eating potatoes for months and very low fat. I'd have lots of like diced tomatoes, but man, I was like, wow, potatoes. And I had way more energy. My adrenal fatigue went away. I felt so much better. And I'm going to teach this to you and the science behind it. So a lot of you ask me about Alzheimer's. Are you interested in preventing Alzheimer's or helping other people to prevent Alzheimer's? There's a wonderful book that we're going to talk about called The Alzheimer's Solution. But basically in this book, they went through 300 peer-reviewed studies, and they found out that from all the sources that they studied, there was no question that a whole food, plant-based diet, low in sugar, like refined sugar, was effective in keeping brains vibrant and active. You guys, this isn't like rocket science here. This is open up the circulation. Don't impair the circulation. And I know some of you have heard that this is like a diabetes type 3. Alzheimer's is called diabetes type 3. Some of you have heard that. And so I don't want you to get confused, because we have other stuff to talk about. The diabetes is not a sugar caused issue. Yes, it is an imbalance in blood sugar, but did you know, are you familiar? I'm going to have to cough for a second here. Give me 1 second. Okay, dramatic pause there. Okay, are you familiar with the fact that diabetes is more not from a sugar excess? Have you ever heard that? It really is from a fat excess. When you think about diabetes, I want you to think about it as being the diet of kings and queens. So a long time ago, when a lot of us were peasants and there were just a few people who had a lot of money and were able to have a lot of animals in their diet and have a very rich diet, more fat, those were the people who got diabetes. Diabetes is from eating a diet that's too rich, and especially a high-fat diet with lots of meat in it. So, go paleo if you want to be, diabetic, unfortunately. You have to really, really be careful. You're really taking your health, you're really putting your health at risk by going with these fad diets. And that's another thing that I'm going to be showing you why that's true. And when you understand that's about circulation, it starts to make sense, because you would never put coconut oil, you'd never put olive oil in your body if you knew this information of how it sludges the blood and impairs circulation. And you don't need it to be healthy. I mean, who here is severely underweight? If you're severely underweight, then hey, you may need a little bit of like extra calories for a while. But if you have even, a few pounds to lose, you guys, you don't need any oil whatsoever. Show me one scientific peer-reviewed study that you need an oil, olive oil, coconut oil of any kind. And let's talk about the merits of that study and perhaps who sponsored that study, or even how the study was designed. Because sometimes it's designed just like you think about the pharmaceutical company selling you sickness and sort of rigging the standards. Well, the food companies, think about them now similarly. They rig the study so that maybe they start off with somebody who is eating a 39% fat diet, which is a ridiculous amount of fat, definitely will make you sick. And then people who are eating olive oil, and then the people who are eating walnuts are having like 37% fat. And so they have this big differential between the people who are doing the olive oil versus people who are doing walnuts are doing so much better. They rig it. I promise you, they figure it out in advance, and they do a very, very little change, or they do a change where they know what the outcome is going to be. But we're going to get into this in our series. So again, what kind of results would you like from taking a class like this. If you'd like weight loss or weight release, if you follow this food plan and you need to lose some weight, you should expect to lose about 1 pound per week. And that's eating foods in the way that I'm going to teach you. You can eat what is called ad libitum, which means you can have as much food as you like. Why? Because when you eat a low density calorie food like a potato, to get more calories into your body, like could eat a big potato. You could actually eat 7 pounds of potatoes per day, nothing on them, just to maintain an adult weight, eating 7 medium pounds of potatoes. You could just eat potatoes. In fact, if you're sitting there right now and you just feel like Googling something, you could Google the Spud Fit guy, or hopefully after the class. But later on, you could Google the Spud Fit guy. And the Spud Fit guy, he ate potatoes, just potatoes, for an entire year. He's perfectly healthy. He lost over 100 pounds. Now, he didn't put any sour cream or butter on his potatoes. He just ate the potatoes. So when you eat whole foods that are low calorie density, you fill up your tum-tum fast. Your tummy's like, oh my God, I can't eat anymore, because you have that satiety. First of all, you have those stretch receptors going on because you're having a lot of fiber. And I'm going to teach you some very, very important concepts about how when you process a food, like if we made potato flour, it wouldn't have the same satiety as the potato, because the potato still has all the fiber, it has all the water. So if losing weight is something that you've struggled with, I guarantee the principles in this class that we're going through will help you tremendously to fill up your tummy, to feel full, and to lose weight really easily without really even trying when you adopt these principles. So if you'd like to have healthy and clear skin, if you'd like to have good tummy function, so your tummy feels good, you don't have a sour tummy, you're not constipated, come to this class and follow High Vibe Nutrition. If you'd like to have a reduced risk of cancer, it turns out that high fat diets and high protein diets, showing you the science that I'm going to share with you, turns out that they switch on tumor producing genes. Yes, genes that produce tumors can be switched on through high fat diets and through high protein diets, particularly animal protein diets. We're going to look at the science behind that. So if you'd like to feel more confident and you're not worrying all the time, oh my God, am I going to get cancer? Everybody's cancer, it's increasing. You want to put yourself, remember I said the step aside, you want to be in the step aside category, come to this class and learn how to do it. If you'd like to have more energy, your body needs glucose that comes from whole foods like rice, potatoes, quinoa, millet, lentil soup, and oatmeal. Your body needs that because it breaks down to a healthy form of energy in the body. And that's what your brain runs on. 20% of your whole calories is dedicated to powering up your brain. So have more energy in your body. This is what athletes do. They carb load. Who are the people who win marathons, like the New York City Marathon or the Boston Marathon? There's like the Kenyans, right? People from Kenya who eat mostly sweet potatoes. Like that's the majority of their diet. And they eat about 80% carbohydrate, 10% protein, which is in every food you could eat, and about 10% fat, which is also found normally in foods. So if you've ever just wanted to embrace that, I bet nutrition could come from food. And I bet that I don't need so many supplements. You're going to have that confidence from this class. So if that's something that appeals to you, and again, hey, you combine this with the energy and the power of the genius, you guys are going to be feeling amazing. Few other things, if you need a few more benefits of High Vibe Nutrition, what you could get from High Vibe Nutrition is better blood sugar regulation. So if you'd like to help people who have type 2 diabetes, this is a disease of excess fat, and specifically fat from animals, beef, chicken, fish. And yes, I'm going to explain why fish is not a health food. Dairy, eggs, those foods should not be consumed by diabetics. And there's a huge movement to think that all diabetics just need to do is remove sugar and they can eat bacon. And who do you think might be behind getting you to think that way? Do you think it might have to do with food industry that wants you to think like that? And these people will never get off their diabetic medications. And that's something we're going to talk about in the year-long class when we get to diabetes and blood sugar. Guess what insulin does, you guys? When you produce insulin, it causes you to gain weight. And the biggest piece about not being able to get over diabetes is being overweight. That's the biggest problem. And yet these doctors give their patients insulin, which causes them to do what? Gain weight. It's sick. You guys, the fact that every doctor in our country is not recommending a high vibe nutrition, whole food, plant-based diet, it's really it's immoral. And we can only send compassion and love to people and hope that the light is going to be switched on. And you can be a part of that. I am personally inviting you to lend your ears and your learning and be part of this series in order to really have a better understanding of that so you can help loved ones and help your clients, your biofeedback clients. You'll have less risk of osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is a Western illness that indigenous people don't suffer from. And it's because of having the rich Western diet. It's having too high protein. And you do not need more than 10% of protein in your food plan. And you don't even need to go out of your way to get protein, you guys. That was a lot of the mistakes that I made over the years, eating tons of tofu and miso. When I finally got it, if you have enough calories in your food, so if you have about 1,800 to 2,000 calories a day of whole foods, plant-based food, you'll never be protein deficient. Never. It's been a ploy that has been handed to you in an effort to sell you more chicken, more beef, more cheese, etc. That's all it is. It's completely fabricated, and I will show you the science behind that. You can let those foods go because they are harming you. They are making you sick. They are putting you on that conveyor belt to go visit the next group of, high lobbying people, which is the pharmaceutical industry. If you want a stronger immune system, one of the most best things that you can do to strengthen your immune system is to eat plant-based starch, eat more potatoes, eat more rice. Now, I don't mean eat in excess. I'm not talking about binging. I'm talking about eating an appropriate amount to where you feel full. And we'll talk about that. Part of what you can do to make sure that that happens healthfully is you can start introducing some vegetables. And those also will give you more satiety and they'll fill you up. And we can talk about how to do that healthfully. But this food, having enough glucose, having enough carbohydrates is a good thing. It's a necessary thing. And all of these foods come with minerals and vitamins. Think of all the carotenoids. Think about a sweet potato and how much beta carotene is in there. Any of those foods have a wonderful amount of nutrition that you need. And by cutting them out of your diet, you're doing yourself a tremendous disservice because these foods are some of the best. These are the true nutrient dense foods. Now, all of these foods that they're pushing on you are because they're nutrient dense. We're going to see, if you download the handout that I gave to you, you can see that rice is incredibly nutrient dense. And if you know someone who has an autoimmune disease, now this is something that really drives me bananas, is hearing from the Hashimoto's faction that, oh my gosh, if they eat a grain, it's going to throw their thyroid totally out of whack. It really is a distortion. Grains in your body will help you to reduce inflammation in your body. There are many studies that show that, and especially the ones done before 1980. And yet somehow the popular lore that's out there has people being terrified of eating a grain. These are the things that will keep you healthy. In autoimmune conditions, it is high protein foods that you're more likely to react to. It's called molecular mimicry. So when you eat beef, or you eat chicken, or you eat cheese, sorry if I'm hitting some people's high notes, or you eat whatever these foods are, milk, the protein in those foods reminds the immune system, it starts to make a mistake, and it reacts to those foods, thinking that they're a germ or a poison, a bacteria, a virus, and then those antibodies then turn on the body itself. So you're more likely to get an autoimmune condition from eating from eating beef and chicken and so forth, because of those high protein things switch on the immune system in a negative way. And we'll get into this. So you guys, go high vibe, eat some sexy starches. See how I'm trying to sell it here? If you want to be sexy, vibrant, trim, and healthy, if you want to be radiant, if you want to emanate or entrain high vibrations. Now, you guys, I don't like to get too preachy about being ethical around animals. It's really your choice about whether you want to consume animals or not consume them on an ethical basis, your decision. That is part of my, in addition to being healthy, that's something I don't really want. I don't want something to have to leave the planet or die on a daily basis for me to be able to live, if I am totally able to live without that thing having to leave its body in transition. So that's just my way of thinking about it. You might have a different way of thinking about it, but I also do think that when we do that, maybe it's not our most high coherent vibration moment. Now you take that and you marinate on it, and whatever feels true to you, that's your truth. So I do think that by eating plant foods, we are raising our vibration. If that resonates to you, then this class will empower you to be able to explore that and also know that it's completely healthy and safe for you to do that. Okay, so learn how to be, to go high vibe. Are you guys into it? Are you ready? Are you ready to be filled with high vibrations and high vitality and pain-free and stay younger longer and have longevity and not have to go down the conveyor belt to all those lobbyists? So you're going to learn how to do it in this series. So I really hope that you join me. But I do have some more information to share with you. So get a cup of tea and a cup of water. Got some fun things to share with you. So there are 3 important things that I've learned about nutrition, weight, and food that I want to share with you. Now, the most, I couldn't believe it when I read this, even though it seems so obvious. It was when I was still eating a lot of raw food. I was eating a lot of like ground, flaxseed and flax oil and olive oil and coconut oil and avocados. And then one day I looked at how much fat that I was eating based on an article I read. And the next thing I read was, the fat you eat is the fat you wear. Boom! I was blown away. I was like, oh, that makes sense. And I can show you how that is true biochemically. Have you ever heard this expression? Oh my gosh, it seems like it goes from my lips to my hips. You guys, if you know this and you really put it into your life, but you do need the science to understand and to feel safe that you don't need oils. You don't even need nuts and seeds. Whoa, truth bomb. Oh my gosh, blown away. So yeah, we're going to get into that, because if I can show you the right foods to eat, you can get to a really healthy weight and you can feel super empowered. That's not that hard to maintain weight. But when somebody's trying to sell you avocados and olive oil, and they're trying to convince you, oh, you need this oil, you need this fat, you need to have nuts on your cereal and so forth. Gosh golly, it can be really hard to get to a healthy weight. And guess what? The biggest predictor of whether you're going to be healthy or have osteoarthritis or heart disease or diabetes is your weight. So if they're not even sharing with you the information to have a healthy weight, and that's going to set you up to be sick, I don't know about you, but I'd rather know the truth. So you do need the truth so you can give yourself permission to say, oh, I can let those things fall away. Yes, you can. And I'm going to show you that. And it's really important to know that. And in fact, you know that story about like the boiling of the frog, like, if you put the frog in the hot water, it tries to jump out. But if you turn the stove up just a little bit at a time, doesn't know it's being boiled. You guys all know that story. I think it's the way with fat that's happened in our lifetime. I don't think we've realized how much we have increased fat in our food plan. And then these crazy people are telling people to eat ketosis diets and they should have high fat. Think about it now, you guys, a ketosis diet, if the fat you eat is the fat you wear, and you guys, fat doesn't even satiate you. I know all of these health gurus try to tell you, and fat doesn't give you any satiety whatsoever. You could have a big bowl of coconut oil or olive oil, which sounds disgusting anyway, and you will still want to eat afterwards. So if you've ever tried to follow a high fat, low carb diet and you've just felt hungry all the time, this is why. So there's been a 57% increase in the amount of fats and oils Americans have eaten since 1970. Now, I'm just curious, you guys, do you think that this is anything that you would ever do on your own? Or do you think that someone else or some other interests have had a hand in this? Guys, do you remember this show called Emergency? Some of you may have not watched American TV, but I watched this as a kid. And when I think about it, I just think, God, these guys were slender. They were so slim, and everybody on TV in the 70s was thin. So what happened? Well, this was United States in 1985. Turns out people actually were slender. Sorry, that's a little bit fuzzy, but let's look at 1995. So by 1995, we already have a lot of people in that blue with their body fat percentage being about 15 to 19%, which is about borderline. It's going from a healthy BMI to being more overweight, but not majority. You don't see anybody in the red. We don't even have the 20 to 24%. But let's see what happens when we go to 2005. So isn't this shocking, you guys? This is 10 years. I mean, look at that. That's insane. This cannot have happened on its own. So that means that something or someone was influencing you. So someone must have been telling you, maybe you should do paleo, or maybe you should do keto, or hey, did you know olive oil is good for you? Or you could probably use some more avocados because it looks like you have an essential fatty acid deficiency. I don't really see anybody in the United States having a fat deficiency of any sort, you guys. Um, so look at this. But that's only 2005. Look at 2010, right? I mean, it's 2019. So look what happened in 2010. I mean, this is what's happening to kids, right? The fat you eat is the fat you wear. It turns right into fat. It doesn't even need very much of a chemical conversion. You can have a fatty meal tonight and tomorrow the pounds can be on. But if you eat potatoes or if you eat sweet potatoes, it turns out, and I know this is going to blow you away, you guys, that's why I'm glad you came today, is that it's really hard, and I know food gurus are trying to convince you that it's not. It is very difficult to turn clean starches into fat. Just biochemically, they don't convert. A potato does not become fat biochemically very easily. Sour cream on the potato, no problem. So your body has no satiety mechanism, so you don't know when to stop eating fat. The more, the better. And when you eat fat, like you put a big thing of butter on, it also, unfortunately, stimulates your body's dopamine levels. So the body gives you a reward for eating food. That keeps you alive. If you didn't get any type of a brain reward of dopamine when you ate, you just basically would never eat. You just starve to death and die. So the creator or universe or goddess gave us this ability to know that we should eat food by giving us a positive reward. So we eat a potato, oh, so satiating. Oh, my brain feels happy. I feel good. But the more concentrated the food is, the more sugar or the more fat it is, you get more dopamine into the body. So if you have something that's really rich, think about your whatever food that's really, really rich, like maybe you have something that does have butter on it and so forth, and you get this huge surge of dopamine. That's why we're so drawn to those foods. And the food companies know it. They load everything with sugar, starch, and fat. And in fact, there's a book called Sugar, Starch, and Fat. Sugar, salt, and fat. Sugar, salt, and fat. And the more you have a combination, think of all, cookies aren't just sugar, they're sugar and fat. And usually there's a little bit of salt in there. And so if you have like a chocolate chip cookie, right? Think about that from whatever that soft or cookie might be from that cookie company. Those are hyper palatable. They're impossible to resist. If you eat one, you're going to eat the entire bag because they're hyper palatable. They cause such a surge of dopamine. It's not willpower, you guys. Nobody could control themselves because it's really working against your own nature. Your own nature is just shooting out all the dopamine. Those are the types of foods you just have to keep them out of your house in order to avoid them. I mean, I can't have them in my house. So starch-based foods, what you're really looking for more than anything is starch, because starch helps your brain run. Starch is what builds muscles, you guys. Even though we think it's protein, it's whole food starches. Okay, we have tons of bodybuilders now that are vegan bodybuilders and so forth. We've just been sold a bill of goods. I hope that's one of the best take-home messages that you get. By loading up on protein and thinking that protein builds muscles, we've only injured our kidneys and caused ourselves to move towards bone loss and osteoporosis. You cannot be protein deficient unless you're eating like less than 1,000 calories a day, which hopefully most of you are not. When you eat starch-based foods like sweet potatoes and lentil soup, which all sounds great, I wish I had them here right now, they will give you satiety. They will satisfy you. So, guys, let's read some of your comments here. How about fruits? Well, we're going to talk about fruits. Let me just answer it now. So fruits, they're totally great. I would say like they're green light, have them, but they won't give you satiation like starch-based foods. Sexy starches like lentils and oatmeal. So if you think about it, Sherry, if you eat some oatmeal, that's going to keep you really satiated for a long time. Whereas if you eat an apple, you're probably going to be hungry in a couple of hours. So fruits are great, but they're not really the things that our body needs. They're nice little decorations and they have lots of antioxidants. So if you had 1 or 2 pieces of fruit a day, that would be great, but you don't need more than that. What you need are starches. So load up on the sweet potatoes. And one of the ways that I make sure that I get lots of sweet potatoes and rice is I get an Instant Pot. And if you look at the handout that I gave to you, if you do want to jump in and do, take the course no matter what, you're not going to change anything, take the course anyway. But if you also want to get into it and say, hey man, I want to give this a try, get yourself an Instant Pot. And I put the type of Instant Pot, I recommend a real true Instant Pot called a Duo. It'll run you all of $80. So I really recommend, because what I do, as you guys know, I'm a little busy. So I just put those potatoes into the Instant Pot, and in 15 minutes, they're done. I didn't even have to watch to make sure that they didn't burn or anything like that. I come back, I eat lots of salad. I mix the potatoes in with the salad. I put in diced tomatoes. I eat shredded carrots. I eat cooked beets. I eat Brussels sprouts and things like that. And you can put some balsamic vinegar on those foods and they taste delicious, all of those things. But I find that I eat fewer fruits because I fill up on these foods preferentially now that I know to do that. And that's helped me in terms of my weight and just really feeling, I think, more steady energy throughout the day. So that's a really good question. These are great. Okay. This doesn't seem possible because my grandparents ate meat, butter, etc. into their late 80s and 90s. So, I mean, that's a really good question, Diane. But just because they might have lived longer if they had not had meat and butter, because we do know for sure now that meat and butter injure the inside lining of the endothelium. So we know that it injures the blood vessels. We know that the buildup of saturated fat means you'll have more cancer. It means you'll have more heart disease. So, 3 generations back, your grandparents grew up in eating a much cleaner food supply in general. And in the beginning of their life, they may not have eaten as much meat and butter as you're saying. Our portion sizes have also gotten bigger, but they could have lived longer. It's very likely if they had not eaten so high on the food chain. But good for them. I'm glad that they had longevity, and I'm glad that they didn't have any disease. But that still doesn't mean that logic dictates that, based on the science of what we know about these foods, that they're not going to injure you. And you have some illness in your family that maybe if they hadn't learned that way from their parents, unfortunately, they may not be suffering right now. And maybe we can turn that around with this new knowledge, which is certainly my hope. I'm confused. Why avocado toast? Isn't avocado fat? So yes, avocado is okay to eat, you guys. Um, the fat you eat is the fat you wear. If you need to lose weight, then I recommend less. But to sort of entice you, to give you some comfort, I did include the avocado toast. I personally don't go out of my way to get avocados anymore because I always have to watch my weight. So to answer your question, Deanna, if you want to release some weight, then don't have the avocado toast. Have the pancakes. As long as you don't put a lot of stuff on there, you can have those. Or oatmeal would be a really good choice. Or you might want to look out in the class. I know you already signed up for the class. I'm going to talk about vegetables for breakfast. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's a great way to start the day. And if you are, we'll talk about this. If you're trying to release weight, the best thing to do is to fill up with vegetables before you have anything else. And you will notice that the weight is just falling off. So that is a very good question, because if you are trying to, for anybody on here, if you want to release some weight, then yeah, don't eat the avocado, because the fat you eat is the fat you wear. And now an avocado is not necessarily unhealthy per se. So you can have a little bit of avocado, but you don't need it. You don't need it to be healthy. And the message I was really trying to get across is that certainly it's not healthy to consume avocado oil. That is an isolated nutrient, and that's not something that we want to consume. Jane says, the last time I tried Dr. Atkins' diet, I got so sick. I thought of going back on it, but just made me sick thinking about it. Well, I'm really glad you didn't do it. Dr. Atkins died of heart disease, and he was 60 pounds overweight when he died, and they tried to cover it up by saying that he slipped and fell. But in the autopsy reports, he had severe heart disease. And I must believe that at some level he had good intentions, but you can harm people by following, these health gurus. You have to be really careful the information you share with people when you're an influencer. I try to share with the highest level of integrity, knowing what I know, to share with you the best information that won't harm you. So we have to be careful who you're listening to. So as I said, fat is extremely easy to overeat. Your body will not tell you when you've had enough, right? We don't have satiety mechanisms for fat. We get satiated by starch. So when I say starch, I want you to see sexy starch. It's sexy starch. It's potatoes. It's sweet potatoes. It's sexy because it helps you to be trim and beautiful. And rice and millet and quinoa and barley. These are the foods that give you satiety, because it's what your body's looking for. It has the most nutrition that your body needs, and it has that glucose that your brain needs. Okay, remember, be careful, because your body is wired by dopamine. So when I talk about eating lower on the food chain and a part of you goes, oh, I'm not sure, part of that dopamine response is talking to you, as well as years and years and years of indoctrination. But be very, very careful that these high caloric foods, and especially high processed foods, have a great amount of dopamine. And like I said, I mean, these food companies have sacrificed anything that could be considered to be moral, because they have studied all of their industrial inside science is to figure out how to produce those foods that will give you the highest dopamine hit, so you can't stay away from them, and you're going to eat the most. You're going to eat everything that's in that bag tonight, and you're going to go out and you're going to get more. It's really sad. So food companies have taken advantage of this. They create food that is hyper palatable. The sugar, salt, and fat combination. You think of chocolate chip cookies, or you think of whatever type of ice cream is out there with all the little doodads of the ice cream. The combination of sugar, salt, and fat becomes overwhelming because of the dopamine response. Remember, that's part of why we sometimes resist this information of eating lower on the food chain. But I promise you, as you do this, your taste will change, and you will taste a lot more food. So your body needs a little time to adapt. So again, you can dive into high vibe nutrition with me, coaching you and helping you to do this in like a little bit of a step down manner. And at first, it will be a big leap, because your body's going to be getting used to consuming less fat. But I promise you, it will be worth it. Your heart will thank you. Your circulation will thank you. Your brain will really thank you. Fat is a commodity that's usually rare. It's a special thing that was found ancestrally to keep you. Um, it was the currency for your body to keep you from starving to death. So if you got a little bit of fat, your body was very drawn to it and would say, yes, 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 get this, because maybe in the wintertime, at the end of winter, there might be no food and we might be starving. We can use this fat. But you guys, I don't know if you've noticed this in the modern world, that starvation period never comes. And so we just build up the fat. You can store fat endlessly, and there's really no satiety response. The end to fat storage is diabetes. When your body has a mechanism where it says, hey, if going back to sort of cave people time, hey, if you get any fatter, you're not going to fit in the cave, and you're not going to be able to run fast enough. Like, you're going to get eaten when the tiger is chasing you. So we got to have a speed bump here, and that's what insulin resistance is. Insulin resistance is not allowing any other calories to become fat. So you're not able to get that fat into the body. If you've ever heard, I remember as a kid, I had one of those, the Guinness Book of World Records. And of course, you guys remember the story that I'm thinking of. The first thing comes into your mind, I don't know what you think of, but I think about the heaviest guy, the biggest guy. For some reason, that was the first story that was in the book. I remember that, and the picture. So these people are 400, 500. When they need to get them to the hospital or something, they have to get like airlift them out or whatever. Those people have an abnormality where they actually, if you look at them, they don't have high cholesterol, they don't have high blood sugar, but they are very, very obese, and their joints and so forth and their organs wear out. Is terrible. But that happens because they don't get insulin resistant. Your insulin resistance is your speed bump that says, like, so you don't become massively, you get the idea. They don't become 400 or 500, 600 pounds. And that's why people get diabetes. So you can store fat endlessly to some degree, but really diabetes is an excess fat disease. It's not an excess sugar. It's not like somebody just drank, you didn't just drink Coca-Cola that made them, it's the fat. It's the rich Western diet. Think of kings and queens when you think about diabetes. So it's really eating lower on the food chain. All those people could be off of their diabetes medications. And we know now we have thousands of people who have gone to whole food plant-based diets who get off their diabetes medications, get off their high blood pressure medications, get off their high cholesterol medications. And if you don't know this stuff, learn it in my class so that you can share it with other people. It's so important. So when you consume fats, they just go right to actual fat. Like, that is the biochemical. They go from the fat in your mouth, they go to fat. It expends very little energy to make the conversion. Now, let's get to some of our highly held myths where we can't even believe, like Linda said, well, I still don't believe you about I don't know if she's still with us, about the fats. Surely I need fats like olive oil, right? So could olive oil affect your health negatively? I have a lot of smarty pants on the call today, so a lot of you guys are already hip to this information. But if you want to go to the studies, this is something we're going to get into the class. Again, you guys, that is why I'm doing this. You need the science in order to get unbrainwashed. You need the science to get unindoctrinated, because crazy people like Dr. McCullough and Mark Hyman are out there telling you, well, gosh golly, I'm kind of charming and cool, and I have a big website, so you should definitely listen to me. Olive oil, you can eat it all day long. So until we really get this information and share it with each other, you're not going to know what to eat. And you need to know what to eat if you want to have a fighting chance of being healthy and avoiding that conveyor belt of the lobbyists that we talked about, like the pharmaceutical industry. So we're going to look at Dr. Blankenhorn's work. This is really, really interesting study that was published in 1990. And he actually did a study where he looked at saturated fat versus monounsaturated and the effects on human health. And he looked at angiograms, which is how you look at heart disease. And for the people who ate butter, there was as much heart disease for people who ate monounsaturated, which is olive oil. They had the same progression to heart disease as people who ate butter and saturated fat. Now, is that something you're familiar with? It was not something I was familiar with even as a naturopath. On the anti-inflammatory diet, you can eat olive oil. So right on the paleo diet, you can eat olive oil. But yet we knew back in 1990 from Dr. Blankenhorn's work, if you eat olive oil or if you eat butter, you're still going to have the progression in your vessels to heart disease. That's really important to know. Like, I think that should be taught in the first grade so that like your whole life you could be making these choices, right? There was another study done by Lawrence Rudell. This was 1995, so 5 years later. And unfortunately, it was on animals, which I don't really subscribe to. But anyway, it was done on the African green monkey. They forced these monkeys, unfortunately, to get heart disease, which is terrible. But again, they gave one set of monkeys saturated fat diets with butter and milk and dairy and so forth. And then the other set got monounsaturated, which is olive oil. They both had the same advancement of cardiovascular disease, the same advancement of cardiovascular disease, whether you eat olive oil or saturated fat, according to the data. We have no need for extra fats. You guys, is anybody on here feel like they have a fat deficiency? Are you like 15 or 20 pounds underweight? Then maybe you could use some oil just to get you to a healthy weight, to get some calories. If you're not super, super skinny with your ribs showing, you don't need any extra fat whatsoever. It's only going to contribute to heart disease, to impairing your circulation and sludging your blood. And by the way, unsaturated fats like monounsaturated or like flax oil or avocado oil, these things, or hemp oil, these things rancidify very, very quickly. So once they're out of the thing that they came from, then they're isolated nutrients, but they also rancidify, they oxidize very quickly, which means that they turn into something rancid and not good for you, no longer healthy and more poisonous than beneficial. Okay, so you may have also seen like butter is back. You may have also seen some hype, like with the Dr. Oz show with the guys eating the cheeseburgers. Hey, saturated fat. Oh man, that's really good for you. It's just been implicated. That connection between cholesterol and heart disease. That was no, you guys don't want to believe that. Be very skeptical, you guys. If you hear something that doesn't make sense or doesn't sound right, be very, very skeptical. So let's look at this. There's been hype recently that says, but oh, saturated fat actually isn't that bad. Anyway, so you get the idea. So go to the literature. So here's something we're going to look at. This study was done. This is the kind of type of science we're going to look at. This was done in 1964, before the food industry took over all the nutrition and the junk science and so forth. And this study is called Serum Lipids and Conjunctival circulation. That's the circulation in the eyes. Now, you guys, this is going to be shocking. So if you're doing something else, come back to here and look at the screen and check this out. So this is going to be two pictures before they had the fatty meal and then 4 hours after. So let's just say they had American breakfast. They had some eggs. They had some bacon. They had some toast with butter. Now, have you ever known anybody who had a breakfast like that? So this is literally this type of a diet, the eyes before, looking at the blood vessels of the eyes and looking at the blood vessels afterwards. Let's take a look. Okay, so pattern A, before and 4 hours after a fat-rich meal. Fat-rich meal would be some bacon, your paleo friends having some bacon and eggs or what. Those foods are healthy. Don't have to worry about saturated fat. Well, what happened to their eyes? What happened to their blood? What happened to the circulation? Is this something that you would want to happen to you or a loved one or one of your clients? Look at the incredible impairment of that circulation due to the fat. And think about who we were historically. When we were more like peasants and we didn't have a lot of money, or indigenous people, we didn't have all of this luxury, right? That afforded us all of these things. What did we have to eat? Potatoes, the breadbasket of the world, wheat, corn, sweet potatoes, yams. That was like 80% carb, 10% fat, and 10% protein. There was no, in other words, what I'm trying to tell you is our body is not really wired to take in this level of fat. and our body reacts negatively. Our body was meant to sort of have these clean starches inside to kind of fuel up our body for, healthy um, energy generation. And we're just not wired or equipped to take on this level of fat. Okay, so what thoughts do you have about the effects of saturated fat? Did you know that could happen? It's really, really helpful, I think, to see it in pictures and to look at the science. And that's what this course is about. If you like this information, then please make sure you get registered for this class, because we're going to dive into this in a much deeper way so you can really take it in. You guys, it takes some practice and takes some repetition to really take this information in and to get it. Okay, when you consume starches, it's difficult to gain weight. Now, you can if you binge on them, but you're much more likely to lose weight. And especially when I show you how to incorporate the vegetables and to think about calorie density and how many, potato, you eat a potato, it's this much. If you have the same amount of calories in olive oil, it's like this much. Which one do you think fills up your tummy? It's the potato. So again, you're much more likely to release weight. So starches are potatoes, rice, millet, oatmeal, pasta. These things don't turn into fat easily. I know it's hard to believe, but we usually are putting a lot more fat on those foods because we think we need to somehow to absorb the minerals, which is not true. And you do have to downgrade your taste buds a little bit because you might be used to having a lot of fat in your diet. And as you kind of reduce it, it's going to take your taste buds a little while to really get the, to you'll taste food so much more differently. You'll be happy you made the change. But in order to convert starches to fat, it has to go through something called de novo lipogenesis, which takes about 28% of those calories just to convert it to fat. And normally when we take in these foods, they get converted to glycogen. They act as energy stores, and a lot of it actually gets burned off just in sort of fidgeting and moving around. So if you ate just potatoes for a year and you didn't have any excess fat, you would lose weight. I guarantee it. You can try it. You'll be successful. Check out the Spud Fit guy. Okay, so when I say this to people and they say, well, I ate starches and I gained weight, so I'm not going to do it. They probably were not really eating a truly low-fat diet. They probably were not avoiding oils, and they probably were not avoiding nuts and seeds or avocados. So therefore, they continued to be fat because the fat you eat is the fat you wear. And then the avocado industry, think about it. From 1970 to today, Americans have increased their fat consumption by 57%. That is insane. And you saw the effects on all the obesity maps with those getting more and more of the red and the orange, just totally crazy. And then they pitch to us these stupid things that you just see all over the internet and your Facebook feed. Well, if you eat avocado, it's going to prevent bad breath. It's going to aid in maintaining healthy skin. It's going to protect your liver from damage and ailments. These are silly pitches about avocados that are maybe half-truths. And these are things preventing bad breath. Well, you could get that from not eating any meat because meat is very high in sulfur-containing compounds, and they give you very, very stinky halitosis if you eat lots of beef and meat and so forth. So does eating avocados prevent bad breath? Like eating salads and eating starch-based foods, sexy starches, will prevent you from getting bad breath, and you'll have wonderful breath and everybody will love being around you unless you eat tons of garlic. So a lot of these things that these companies are saying are really silly, and you're welcome to bring them to class and we'll dispel them in class, and it'll be fun because you'll learn to come to your own conclusions. I want you to leave this class empowered where you can think more logically and more clearly about all this information that's coming at you, and you can become unconfused. Okay, because a lot of people come to me and they're like, I'm so confused. Well, we're going to get unconfused. When you consume starches, it's moved mostly into glycogen. Now think about people who do marathons. They carbo load because that's a tried and true tradition. So you burn much of that off even through movement. It's easy. And you guys, this is why when people go on keto plans and they cut all their carbs, after the first week, they're like, oh, my tummy's nice and slim. Well, they just used up all their glycogen that they need for energy. And that turns into like a loss of water weight. You've heard of that, water weight. And they're not going to be able to maintain that long term, because if you eat a fat rich diet, you're just going to go around all the time being hungry. I guarantee it. If nobody's ever experienced that on one of these plans, I'd be surprised. In the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition, 1999, they published this information about de novo lipogenesis. De novo lipogenesis just means when you're trying to take a potato and turn it into a pound of fat, it's real hard. Metabolic and regulatory aspects of the conversion of carbohydrates to fat is believed to be thermogenically costly. So you use 28% of the energy content of those carbohydrates just to turn them into fat. So you're actually, it's good. And there have been studies by Dr. Neil Barnard that shows that when people switch from eating chicken and fish and cheese and so forth to eating more potatoes and rice, that their metabolism increases, their metabolism speeds up. And it's probably because of this thermogenic effect. Okay, we're on principle number 2. Don't worry, guys, we're going to get through this quickly, but are you enjoying it? Are you learning something? Are you getting something from some of the information that you find useful? I hope so, because you're going to get more of that in the class. But I wanted you to give you the overview and really, whet your appetite to really know what we're going to be doing in the class. Eat starches every day to stay healthy, you guys. If you want to be healthy, eat sexy starches. Eat your rice. Remember, in China, the greeting for good morning is, have you had your rice today? It's that important, and it's a complete food. Rice is full of so much nutrition. It's got almost every vitamin, mineral, and amino acid that human beings need. Have you ever heard of that, like rice powder? When you're getting protein powder and they're like, oh, it's brown rice powder. Brown rice? That contains that much protein? You can make a protein powder out of it? Yes, it does. Have you ever heard of rice bran oil? That's because rice has fat in it. So all these food industries didn't want you to know that you could eat simply and humbly. And by the way, very inexpensively. When you learn about high vibe nutrition, you will be saving so much money. Even in the first month of doing this, it'll probably pay for this course, and it'll save you more money because you can finally eat, instead of eating all of these really expensive foods that the food industry wants you to get. Like, you've seen the price of a bag of nuts. It's just ridiculous. And so compared to a bag of potatoes, or chicken compared to a bag of potatoes and some rice, I mean, you guys, I save a lot of money on my food because I eat this way every day. The biggest expense is getting organic vegetables, because I really enjoy eating things like Brussels sprouts and cauliflower and broccoli and beets and stuff like that. But it will save you a lot of money, and it also save you money on supplements, because we're going to take a really good look at supplements. It turns out that you would be much better off investing in real food, and you cannot make up for deficiencies or things that are wrong in your diet through pursuing supplements. So if you'd also like to save some money on your supplements, and you've always been thinking to yourself, I don't think these things are helping me and they're making a difference, you want to come to this class, because you will also save money on your supplements. Okay, these are starches. These are sexy starches, things that will make you trim and beautiful and have radiant vitality in your body and give you tons of good circulation and prevent you from getting dementia and Alzheimer's. And these are potatoes, sweet potatoes. Basmati rice is a good rice. It's not, white rice is stripped of all of its nutrition, but basmati rice is actually a whole food. So if you like white basmati rice, you can have it. If you like brown basmati rice, if you like black rice, if you like wild rice, if you like jasmine rice, if you like oatmeal, if you like quinoa, millet, barley, these are all great foods. They should be the center of your plate. So you can think about, my expression, my steak is my sweet potato, or my sweet potato is my steak, however you want to think about it. So that's the main thing that goes on my plate. And then I have things like collard greens and kale, which we're going to talk about, that whole kale study that came out. I guess the punchline of that is, first of all, eat organic foods. If you read about the Dirty Dozen, the number 3 on the Dirty Dozen from the Environmental Working Group out today in the last 24 hours shows that regular conventional kale is loaded with pesticides. But again, when you eat low on the food chain, that's the least of your worries. You don't want to eat the animal that ate like kale and built it up into its fat tissue, or ate grains that had arsenic and built it up in the fat tissue. When you eat meat, you're eating bioaccumulated foods. And if you don't know about the concept of bioaccumulation, a really great book is Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, or just reading. We're going to talk more about bioaccumulation in the class. It's a really important concept to know. But that's why when you eat something like tuna, you get exposed to a lot of mercury, or ahi ahi, or halibut even has a lot of mercury in it. Okay, so did you know that potatoes have all the nutrition that humans need? Could you imagine the food companies finding out about this? So potatoes have all the protein. You don't even need vitamin A and C, broccoli, or anything like that. Potatoes have all the protein human beings need, period, end of story. Every mineral, every vitamin, and even enough protein. We're going to explore that and talk about that in class. So the highest and best food for human nutrition is sexy starches like sweet potatoes, yams. There's also like purple yams. So you could go for it. If you want to get something that's going to give you some comfort, you could get an air fryer and you could make potato fries or sweet potato fries. And that you don't put any oil or anything on it with an air fryer. It makes it into a nice crispy potato. I put a lot of things in the Instant Pot just for convenience, and then I cut them up and chop them and put them into my salad or mix them with my vegetables. But hey, if you want to feel like more comfort and more crispiness, then get an air fryer. That's a really great thing. You can make delicious things from sweet potatoes and even like jicama and things like that. But you want to have starches, or the center of your plate. So that's not jicama. That's more like sweet potatoes and rice, and millet and quinoa and things like that. Right? So the translation of good morning is, have you had your rice today? Your brain uses glucose, and 20% of your total calories come from glucose. Now listen to this, you guys. People concerned about anemia, concerned about cancer, concerned about all types of things. Your red blood cells preferentially use, listen, glucose. Your red blood cells preferentially use glucose. Should you get rid of carbs that have all the vitamins, nutritionals, protein, B vitamins, magnesium, potassium that you need, you're really running a risk by eating a low carbohydrate or paleo plan. You're cutting out the most important foods that satiate you the most and keep you safe. Chicken and beef, they're filled with more hormones. They're filled with dioxins. If you're worried about toxins in the environment, get those foods out of your plan first. Anything that has fat in it from an animal is more likely to have a bioaccumulated environmental load that you then just take right into your body, and then those toxins are then in you. When you eat clean food, low on the food chain, low in fat, you don't have those problems. Especially if you eat a low-fat diet, you're more resilient in the face of any toxins that you're being exposed to in the environment. Okay, and this is really important, you guys. And again, this is like you're unbrainwashing yourself, you're unindoctrinating yourself of things that you've been told since you were a little tiny kid if you grew up in the United States. And that is, it's impossible to be deficient in protein if you get enough calories. So if you get up every day and you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're eating over 1,000 calories a day or 1,200, you're getting enough protein. You will never be protein deficient. You guys, I want you to stop thinking about that in the United States about being protein deficient, calcium deficient, fatty acid deficiency. That is all contrived information created by food industry to make sure that you buy lots and lots of what they have to sell. Americans don't have diseases of deficiency, right? Not a lot of people have rickets. Not a lot of people have kwashiorkor. Not a lot of people have whatever those things. We have diseases of excess. We have diseases of excess weight and excess fat. These are all high blood pressure and so forth, diabetes. These are all diseases of excess. So if you're worried and you're sitting there, oh my gosh, she's not talking about this deficiency, you're not deficient in it. You have more excess. You have many more potential issues from excess nutrition than from deficiency. So most people in the US are not suffering from deficiency. They're suffering, and they're really suffering. And we've sold people, I mean, it's not funny, it's really sad. All of these cholesterol lowering medications, the only way that you get cholesterol in your body is from eating meat. That includes fish, chicken, pork, beef. eating dairy or eating eggs. That's the only way you can get cholesterol in your body. There's no other way. Plant-based foods don't have cholesterol. Therefore, we have all of these cholesterol-lowering medications that could be completely eliminated if people change to a starch-based plan. And it is just about to become $1 trillion industry. Isn't that insane, you guys? It's really sad. Like, that is immoral not to tell people what to eat. And that's why I'm doing this food. I want you to know what to eat. If people don't tell you what to eat, then you can harm yourself. That's why we have this class, and so you can share it with other people. So where our bodies need more than anything is glucose from sexy starches. So remember to take away from tonight a sexy starch. And remember, if I gave you a quiz, that you'd know how to write down what the sexy starches are. They are rice, potatoes, and corn is in there too. I don't talk about corn that much because a lot of people avoid it. But, GMO corn is not the same as organic corn. So if you get corn tortillas, that's fine. If you're trying to lose weight, we'll talk about this. Things that are broken down from their natural whole foods aren't going to be the best. So whereas you could definitely have pasta on this plan and be healthy, if you're coming to this class and you want to lose weight, you're going to want to eat things that are still in the whole form. So that would be all the whole grains. You'd want to consume those preferentially. So potatoes and sweet potatoes versus having pasta. Since it's ground into flour, it loses the water. And so you don't have the same level of satiety. Is it bad? No. You can enjoy udon noodles and ramen and things like that, as long as they don't have meat and dairy and so forth associated with them. You can enjoy them, especially if you're at a healthy weight. And even if you're not, experiment with new foods. When I got into this, I had some udon noodles and I had some veggie-based like brown rice pasta and stuff. I really enjoyed it. And things just sort of shifted and changed over time. I got more sophisticated, but you can enjoy those foods and that's not harmful. Nobody, if you just ate pasta, that's the thing that's affecting you is the meatballs that come with the pasta, the chicken and turkey and things like that. Okay, now high protein foods, we're going to explore this. You've probably heard this. High protein, anything above 10%, you don't need it. It is going to be more of a waste product in your body. Protein has to be broken down by your kidneys and eliminated by the liver, which means we cause more wear and tear, especially on the kidneys. And too high of a protein diet causes osteoporosis because this high protein causes you to shift your acid alkaline balance, and so you lose lots of minerals. Protein causes a tremendous amount of wear and tear on the kidneys, and that is why when people get to the age of 50 or 60, if they've been eating a rich Western diet, they begin to lose a significant amount of kidney function. If you want to preserve your kidney function and not ever go on dialysis, eat a sexy, starch-centered, high-vibe nutrition plan. Lower the amount of protein. You don't need to work to get protein. You don't need to work to get protein powders. You don't need to work to get tofu. You don't need to work to get chicken and so forth. You do not need it. Eat a whole foods plant-based plan. You will never be protein deficient. I know that might be the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway message from tonight. So really you need about maybe 40 to 50 grams of protein per day. And it turns out that 2 cups of brown rice has 10 grams of protein. 2 cups of quinoa has 16 grams of protein, and 1 cup of chickpeas has 15 grams of protein. So this probably wouldn't be one meal, but could easily be 2 meals, right? And so in 2 meals, you'd have 50 grams of protein. So you don't need to work really hard to eat lots of beans or lentils. The thing about that you need some lentils with your rice to make it a complete protein is completely false. It came from a book that was published in the 1980s about vegetarianism. It was completely wrong. It's been completely shown to be false. You just need lots of sexy starches and lots of vegetables that they also help you to feel satiated. We're going to talk more about that. I didn't really talk about it tonight because I'm sort of luring you in with really good comfort foods. And I mostly want you to know that when you eat this food plan, you will be very healthy and satisfied. I think part of the mistake that people have made in the past in talking about plant-based plans is they show lots of salads and they show lots of greens. I am going to encourage you to eat those foods and give you recipes for them. I think you should eat one big salad a day. And I think you should work towards as many servings of as green vegetables as you can get into your body. So like I said, I eat lots of broccoli, I eat lots of cauliflower, I eat lots of Brussels sprouts, I eat lots of cooked steamed beets that I make in the Instant Pot. I eat like the golden beets and things like that. You should try to get all of those into your plan, and that will help you to not overeat the starches, although you will be satiated if you do struggle with weight. And I do have to be careful. I try to eat my vegetables first and get a lot of vegetables. And, to go back to Sherry's question, this has caused me to eat I don't eat as many fruits, and I think that's been good for me. So one or two fruits. If you think back to the Japanese macrobiotic plan, they actually encourage people not to overeat fruits, and I think that's good. I think you don't put on extra weight. Now, I don't think fruits are unhealthy. If you like fruits, you should eat them. If you like dried fruits, you should eat them. Believe me, none of those things are going to cause you problems except for maybe just with your weight. The things that cause people true issues with their health, that causes them to break down, their health to break down, is anything that had a mother or a face. So whether it's seafood, yes, fish is part of this. We're not talking about pescatarians. Any type of chicken, any type of fish, any type of pork, that is what is going to make you sick. And dairy and free oils. If you can eliminate those top 10 things, you could kind of be having a party with all the other things. You could have some nuts and seeds and avocados and dried fruit and lots of fruit throughout the day. You're probably not going to get cancer or heart disease. Been talking for a while, but you might struggle with maintaining a healthy weight. So in our plan, I'm going to get real nuanced. I'm going to tell you what, if you want to be super healthy, you'll still be satisfied. But just like I explained, if you have the sweet potatoes, the potatoes and the rice, and you have lots of green leafy vegetables, I will show you how to make it delicious. You have a few fruits. And the funny thing is, you guys, when I used to go even to Whole Foods and the health food store here, I would kind of be, every time we go shopping, kind of be looking around like, maybe I want that little treat for myself. And I would always be a little bit like hungry, or, I just want something a little bit special, a little maybe dark chocolate. That doesn't happen for me anymore, because honestly, when I go shopping, I'm like, I'm full, like I'm happy, I'm satisfied. My body loves all of those sexy starches, and I partake of them and enjoy them and have a substantial amount that will support me, because you need those foods to be healthy. You need those foods to run your heart, to run your liver, to run your kidneys, to run your body, to make your hormones, to make your muscles, to make your brain work. Don't deprive your body of sexy starches, which are made of whole food, because you're robbing your body of B vitamins and nutrition and fiber that your body desperately needs. Okay, so we're also going to study the China study that showed that high protein animal diets will switch on tumor producing genes. Are you concerned about getting cancer, or someone that you know or love getting cancer? So it's for sure eating these high protein and obsessing and focusing on high protein foods that will switch on these tumor producing genes. And we'll look at that. And we'll look at this study done from the China study, that when they increased the protein, the tumor production went up. And when they decreased the protein, the tumor production went down. There was no, the tumor producing genes were turned off. And when they raised the level of protein, the tumor production went up. Why isn't this on CNN or the nightly news? Like, you'd think you'd want to warn people of this. Okay, so join me for the knowledge, okay? Get signed up for the class. It's going up by $50 after the 23rd of March. If you need installments, there's an installment plan on the page, the nutrition page. You're going to get the offer after class, or you can go to geniusbiofeedback.com, look at the nutrition series and sign up from there. You don't have to come to class ready to make any change at all in your diet. Say, you can even come to class and say, I'm not changing. But come for the knowledge, because the knowledge also is going to be the basis of our year-long biofeedback practitioner class, which is going to really teach you about the concepts you need to know about helping people with diabetes and heart disease and cancer, which is just about everybody that you know, unfortunately. Hopefully you know some healthy people too. We did promise to talk about vibration, and so we're constantly entraining frequencies around us, as you know from the Genius, as you know from essential oils. So we kind of talked about this in class, but it is about high vibe nutrition. When you do switch to this, you will be filled with more plant energy, with more high vibrational energy. Because plants hold photonic light from the sun, you'll be filled with more light. Now, when we talked about raw food and everybody, we all went through this phase where we did a lot of more raw foods, that definitely do get filled with a lot of photonic light from green vegetables, but you need the sexy starches to keep you full and satisfied throughout the day. So we don't want to be like so high vibe, we're going to levitate off the planet right now, maybe later. We want to also be grounded. So human cells may mutate when they fall below 62 hertz. We know that dead carcasses of animals, to be honest with you, resonated about 2 hertz, not a very high frequency. Green leafy vegetables are about 70 to 90 hertz, and you know those fabulous essential oils are up to 500 hertz. So we want to entrain these frequencies and raise our vibration. What do you receive in the class? You'll receive a complete shopping list. Don't worry, those of you who have signed up, you will get this at the beginning of next week. Okay, so over the weekend and into Monday, you should expect to see this in your email. You'll get recipes, easy ways to simplify your meals, and strategies for weight release. So if you're coming to class and you're like, well, I'm kind of hoping a side benefit will be like I'll lose a couple of pounds, I can get you there, you guys, and you will learn those principles, especially about calorie density. Really important. I'm going to show you in demonstrations how to think about food in terms of caloric density. And olive oil is a lot more calorie dense. Nuts are less calorie dense, but a potato is way less calorie dense. So if you like to eat food, the more that you decrease your calorie density, you can have more food, right? So like lettuce, that would be really, not calorie dense. Like you'd have to eat pounds and pounds of lettuce basically to get to the same amount of caloric expenditure or caloric intake as 1 tablespoon of olive oil. 1 tablespoon of olive oil is 15 grams of fat. That's insane. And the fat you eat is the fat you wear. And when you take in an olive oil, you don't even get satiated. It's just gone. So, but we've been convinced, oh, you need your olive oil to stay healthy. Well, now you know you don't. You're going to have a lot better chance of releasing the weight. So I'm super excited about that. And you're going to get the science behind the information. There are healthy gurus like Dr. Berg and Dr. Mercola and Dr. Hyman, who I really think that he's a little bit of a liar, but I'm not going to say that. Did you know that he tells you, he did a Facebook Live the other day that one of my relatives posted and said, hey, there was a meta-analysis recently that said that eggs are definitely not healthy, but I don't believe that. I want to tell you that eggs are healthy. Hashtag eggs are healthy. Well, you guys, what Mark Hyman can tell people on Facebook, the egg industry is not allowed to tell people. It's actually not the FDA, but it's the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, will not let the egg industry call eggs any of the following. They cannot call eggs healthy. They cannot call eggs safe, and they cannot call eggs nutritious. They cannot call them healthy or nutritious because they contain too much cholesterol, almost the maximum amount of cholesterol that the USDA recommends, like as the upper limit of cholesterol, is in 1 egg. I think it's like 200 milligrams of cholesterol. So, and they can't call it safe because eggs have so much salmonella in them that they literally cannot call them safe. So anyway, we're going to talk more about this so that, again, you can become unconfused. So did you know that oils, even olive oil, may damage the lining of our blood vessels and decrease healthy blood flow? So if you don't want dementia, which is about circulation to the brain, get the oils out of your diet. We're going to cover more of that. And that fats could significantly contribute to diabetes way more than sugar ever could. We'll learn about that. Have you ever wondered if taking supplements is making a difference? Have you ever wondered if maybe your supplements could be causing you harm? Okay, your best way to get, we're going to cover that in class. The best way to get nutrition is from real whole food. We derive nutrition, I know you're not going to believe this, from food and not from isolated concentrated nutrients. So if you guys are taking a multivitamin, you should really stop taking it because it's really not doing you any good, and there's never been any proof that it's doing you any good. Take that money and reroute it into organic, sexy starches and vegetables. Okay, learn in class about why supplements may be harming you instead of keeping you healthy and how you can avoid that. And sorry to change the slide, not only supplements, but fish oil. Have you ever heard that fish oil could be harmful? I mean, now we're really blowing everybody's mind, right? Are you taking fish oil? I'd recommend you discontinue taking fish oil. I'm going to show you a study in just a moment. But turns out that fish oil, well, we know fish oil is purported to reduce inflammation. Well, that's great, you guys. It will reduce inflammation, but guess what gets affected when you suppress inflammation in your body? Inflammation means your immune system. So if you take a lot of fish oil, you might suppress your immune system to the point where maybe you're more susceptible to cancer or something else. And it also, we know that fish oil thins the blood. Well, what if somebody's in an accident and they need to clot their system, but they've taken so much fish oil because it was purported to be healthy for them, whatever they were trying to achieve. Maybe they were trying to have less heart disease. Well, they could have just decreased the meat and dairy from their diet and done it that way. And instead, they thinned their blood to the point where it was very unsafe. So these are things that we need to think about. So true or false? Now you already know the answer. Fish oil is good for me. Did you know that there was a study done in 2013? The study confirms the link between high blood levels of omega-3 fatty acids and the increased risk of aggressive prostate cancer. In this study, which we're going to see the citation in a moment, so the consumption of fatty fish and fish oil supplements are linked to a 71% higher risk of aggressive prostate cancer. It was published in 2013 by scientists at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center and published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute. These are the studies that we're going to look at in this class, you guys. So you can become unconfused and you can present this information to other people. Remember, it's like your brain's going through this big washing machine right now, right? It's going, psh, 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 psh. It's like all of the stuff that you've been indoctrinated with is getting cleared out so you can think clearly and you can do things that really support you and support the health of your family and everybody that you're meeting with when you're doing biofeedback. We just can't derive the same benefit from concentrated, isolated nutrients that we can. So you guys, it's all about the food. Focus your energy, your money, and your learning. Now focus it on learning about these foods and investing with them, investing in them and divesting out of the other foods that we talked about that are more harmful, and take the money out of the supplements. It's all about the food. If you can get the food right, you're going to live long, you're going to be happy, you're going to feel good, you're going to be pain-free, and all of the biofeedback frequencies are going to have a much greater impact on you because you're a clearer vibration, and these frequencies are going to have a much greater beneficial effect. So if you want to do affirmations and entrain those frequencies or entrain the energy of oils, like those are all going to have a much greater trajectory. They're going to have a much greater impact on your field. Okay, I'll demonstrate in class how to get the most nutrition from real whole foods. And hey, are you worried about toxins? And you see every Facebook post in our tribe, our circles that we run in are all about glyphosate. Oh my God, it's all about glyphosate. You guys, I agree glyphosate is not good, but it's kind of a distraction. So you have somebody who's running around posting all about glyphosate, maybe they're eating an organic hamburger or something. So they're kind of missing the point there. Like, that's good that they're eating a grass-fed hamburger, but there's probably more dioxin in the burger from the environment than they ever have to worry about the glyphosate. So let's just talk about that for a second. Have you heard about eating lower on the food chain? Toxins bioaccumulate up the food chain. We talked about that. Animal foods are filled with accumulated toxins that accumulate up the food chain. They're also the main source of people worry about their parasites. They're the main source of how people get parasites into their body is through meat. But even in the face of toxic exposures, those on a low-fat diet will fare better and be more resilient. So I talked about this in the beginning. Men in Japan smoke a lot. but they have a very low incidence of lung cancer. And the association has been made when you eat a low-fat diet, you appear not to be as susceptible or perhaps turn on those tumor-producing genes. So what I'm saying is, if you get the food right, you might be able to just relax a little bit about all the toxins in the environment, because your body is not as susceptible as it is when you're eating a high-fat diet. We're going to talk about this. Okay, so it means you don't need to stress as much about the toxins. The true toxins that will affect you the most come from anything that had a face or a mother, so things that are high on the food chain, from oils, which are isolated, concentrated nutrients, and from dairy products and eggs. So like I said, use my step aside approach. Okay, when you know you can't change everything, or like tomorrow we should raise our awareness. We should try to get people to stop using Roundup and stop using glyphosate. That is the right thing to do, but it's probably not going to happen in the next 24 hours. So use my step aside. My step aside means I'm going to step aside. So I can't control everything, but I'm going to do everything in my power so that, since I don't believe with what the pharmaceutical industry is laying down, I'm going to do my best to step aside so that, God or goddess willing, I'm going to do my best effort that I never have to, dance with them. I'm going to step aside, and maybe I can't control all the glyphosate, but I'm going to control everything I'm putting into my body to make myself more resilient in the face of a potentially toxic world. So if you eat more low fat, low protein, you don't turn those cancer producing genes on in your body. It means you're more resilient in a toxic world. You're sort of stepping aside. Do everything to make yourself more resilient, be more high vibe, high vibrational, low fat, starch, sexy starches, and reduce your exposure to toxins this way, from the thing that you can most control, the thing you're putting in your mouth. And this will make your body much stronger and more resilient. So are you ready now? Are you excited? Are you ready to have high vibe health, you guys? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love for everybody on here to join the class. On the 23rd, it goes up by $50. So please jump into the class tonight. I'll be sending you a link if you don't have one, or go to geniusbiofeedback.com and click on the nutrition series and sign up. I'd love to have you for this. I consider it to be one of the most important classes that I've ever taught. And I'm so excited to bring you this information that I know can change your life, the life of your family, and the people that you're visiting with and working with when you're doing biofeedback. So you're ready to have super amazing amounts of energy. You're ready to increase your vibrational frequency and just be radiating light and photonic energy for everybody around you. Are you ready to share helpful and even life-saving information with other people? I'm going to help you to do that. So I'm going to give you a complete shopping list, recipes, daily inspiration, affirmations, recipes, lifestyle recommendations. We're going to have a lot of fun in this class. There's going to be a private Facebook group. You can share your experience. I know we're going to have a lot of triumphs. You can exchange recipes. You can be inspired by others. You can ask me questions in the Facebook group or by email. I really suggest, if you can, jump in and take this class while it's being given live, so you have the benefit. You can ask a naturopath all of your curiosities. Folks that we love, Linda, that she's like, I don't believe in that stuff about the oils, and she can jump in there and ask me, and we can talk about it. So you can bring your concerns and your questions, and you have the benefit of someone who's been studying this for a long time. You guys, lots of people have lots of hobbies and things that they do. Like, I listen to the research on this stuff all day long. Like, that's what I enjoy doing when I'm not doing my biofeedback work, or if I'm doing something in the background, I'm usually listening to this. So you've got someone who's really, if you haven't experienced it throughout the time of this lecture, has a deep knowledge of this information. And I'm really excited to share it with you. And this information is the core to all of the classes coming in our year-long Natural Healer Biofeedback Practitioner 2019 Master Course. Why is this information foundational to that course? Because it is going to help you to this core information. You can apply it to all of those conditions. So if you know this information, you can help people with multiple sclerosis. And we're going to go through that in the autoimmune class. I'm going to show you the studies that show that people who follow this food plan get better from multiple sclerosis and other autoimmune conditions and diabetes type 2. And you can help people who have Parkinson's, because Parkinson's is a toxicity issue. And so when they stop eating meat and fish and dairy, they're able to clear the toxins from their body. When you eat a high fiber diet, which is a sexy starch based diet, which is a high vibe diet, that all of that fiber every day is clearing heavy metals out of your body. So you don't have to do crazy chelation. Eat lower on the food chain, get more fiber. That fiber will bring the mercury out of your body every day. When you consume your oatmeal and you consume your sweet potatoes, you're clearing those heavy metals, and you're also not introducing more mercury into your system. Woohoo! Celebration. And so that's how we want to think about it. Instead of doing all of these, spending all this money on supplements and blah, blah, blah. You know, I've talked about them, but this is a much better, more efficient way that I've come to have clarity. It's really about the food, you guys. Get the food right, and a lot of these issues will fall away. And you don't have to spend all your time running to naturopathic doctors and chiropractors. You could just enjoy life and enjoy the sexy starches and enjoy a vibrant, high vibe life of just getting to be and share biofeedback in the world with others and help others. So you can help people with this. It'll apply to obesity and being overweight, gallstones. Gallstones is totally eating meat, dairy, and oil. Stop eating meat, dairy, and oil. Don't worry about your gallstones. They'll never bother you again. That's where you develop gallstones from. I was reading an interesting study for people who are told, oh, just get your gallbladder removed. It's not going to make a difference. I'm going to be sensitive because I think probably at least a couple of people on here have had their gallbladder removed, but it leads to a lot of other things. I think I'll wait to talk about them, but it does lead to side effects and things. You can't just lose organs and not have consequences. So let's keep all of our organs that we still have with us in our bodies. And by the way, dental health, you guys, dental health is a product of circulation. We're really going to talk about that. When you think about a lot of health in the body, it's a product of good circulation. When you have those clean, sexy starches in your body and you're not impeded by heavy meats or oil and so forth. And fish is also heavy meat. It's not a light meat, just has as much cholesterol and so forth, especially salmon, very fatty, not adding anything to your body that you need. So those types of things, are things that, we want to really, really get clarity on. When we have good circulation in our body, we're going to have good dental health. When we have good circulation in our body, we're going to have good thyroid health. When we have good circulation in our body, we're going to have good brain health. We're going to be able to think clearly. It all comes back to circulation. So those other things are going to impede circulation. So how do we bring about good circulation? So I believe even as I have given up olive oil and eating more, flax oil, I think my dental health has gotten better, and I think we're gonna see that, and you'll see that as well. So it'll help with pain, fatigue, no energy. Some people have no energy because they don't have the fuel, the sexy starches in their body that would give them energy and glucose. And chronic viruses. A lot of the ways you get exposed to viruses, Chickens are filled with viruses, you guys. If you didn't know that, have you ever thought about chicken soup and why it works? It may be because it's sort of like a homeopathic delivery of all the viruses. No joke. I'm not joking. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? And we can read any comments. I hope you're getting signed up for our Sexy Starch High Vibe class right now. And if you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to look at them. Sherry, thank you so much, Sherry. She says your information and enthusiasm is contagious. Thank you so much. I really feel that just as much as biofeedback is a vehicle to empowerment, that this information equally is a vehicle to empowerment that we should all know about. We should all have access to this information. Okay, Jane says, thanks for the information. And Karen says, I'm ready and excited. Margaret says, I love, love, love this. I'm so happy. Diana says, eggs are disgusting. I was never a big egg fan. Okay. So, all right. So great questions. Canada food guide 2 months ago when plant-based. Now I saw that. You said the Canadians are way ahead of us. I love it. Mwah, mwah, big hugs and kisses to the Canadians who had the epiphany to do the right thing with their nutritional guidelines. I'm so, so grateful for that. You need lots of recipes for taste. I promise to supply you with lots and lots and lots of recipes and a good shopping list. If you're ready to make that change, I'm going to support you 100% with good resources. And I think you'll be really happy with the immensity of resources and recipes that you get. And I'll also be recommending, some other books you might want to dive into, some of the best ones that have been really helpful for me. You may want to check those out as well. So I'm going to give you as many resources as you need. I think you're going to have a lot of fun in these 4 classes, and just like we did this evening, and you're going to feel really super empowered. And if you're a practitioner, you're going to be in such a better place. You guys, I hear a lot of people, you're coming to me today and they're saying, oh, what about my methylation? And should I be gluten-free? And what else do people talk about? Oh, I think I have my SIBO and things like that. All of those things I can tell you guys are distractions. And if you get the food right, everything will fall into place. And we don't have to be, a lot of my naturopathic colleagues, I'm sad to say, they need something to do. And if this is what you're doing all day long, I mean, they could be teaching people plant-based, but, sometimes they aren't. You need some lab tests to run. You need something to figure out. And unfortunately, it kind of becomes at the detriment to the person who's coming in. I mean, I don't think as many people have SIBO as are being told that they do. I think it's become kind of the new candida. But the point of all of that is get the food right, and you'll be very, very healthy. Your body will fall into place and fall into alignment perfectly. Now, will the support Facebook page continue after the 4 classes? Absolutely. I want you guys to stay in touch and share information and keep plugging people in, because people will come afterwards and take the recording of the class too and add to the Facebook group. We all want to keep the momentum going. This isn't just a 4-week thing. That's why we have things like the Facebook group, for sure. Deanna says, now I'm hungry. That's hilarious. I love it. So any other questions? I hope everybody's on here is going to join us, because it's going to be a really great class. I can already tell we're going to have a wonderful group of people. Remember, if installments is the issue, there are 2 plans for installments on the website. So if you go to the website, let's see if we can find that for people so we can show them where it is. So let me just turn this off for 1 second. I can answer any more of your questions. You're just not going to see the screen for just a minute. Yeah, so hopefully you'll have a nice some sexy starches tonight. And if you need any ideas, then just email me and I'll be happy to give you some recommendations. I don't know if you guys have seen the website in the last couple of days, but it's actually changed in the last couple of days. So you go check out the website. It's a little bit different. And you can see this High Vibe Nutrition series is here. And so those are some sexy starches. That was cooked with an air fryer, so it doesn't have oil on it. But there's some installment plans here. So there's 3 installments for $83 a month, and there are 2 installments for $123. If you really cannot swing the $83, get in touch with me. Let's talk about it. If you have a sincere desire to get in this class and get the information, we're going to make it happen together. So it's just so core to everything that we're going to be talking about in the different health classes, and to help you to do better in your biofeedback practice and really help people. Let's get people healthy, you guys. Come on, that'd be really fun. I don't want to see people struggling. It hurts my heart when I have people who are doing the genius biofeedback, and they call up and they're like, I still have my tremors. So what are you doing? Well, my so-and-so doctor told me I have to eat paleo and I need to avoid all grains because they could make me sick. That makes me sick when I hear about it. It makes my heart hurt. And so we want to sort of cut through all of that so that you have the right information, so you can be informed, so you can be healthy and you can help other people. Okay. I did the 3 PayPal payments for class. Awesome. So fantastic. Did you sign up today, Karen, or you signed up the other day? Remind me about that. I think you signed up the other day. All right. So any final questions before we wind everything up? And you can also, I'll be on geniusbiofeedback.com. You guys, anybody you send to geniusbiofeedback.com can chat with me at any time. When they pop the bottom right part of the website, when they pop this little chat button right there, that actually goes to me directly. You can get it on my phone. So I know when somebody's hitting up the chat, I can go and chat with them for the next hour. I'll be on chat. And it's a really great way for, even if they're having problems with the Genius or anything, it's a great way for people to get in touch with me. There's a number they can text me on down there. So if anybody has any questions, just take to the website and chat with me if you have any questions about doing the class or joining the class. So, okay, you joined on Monday. Okay, fantastic. Great. I want to make sure I get you access. I have a great new website, which is through a new service for hosting my classes, you guys. And I think you'll really, really like it. I've sent some of you access already. It's a better platform, a much more beautiful experience of the videos and all of the support materials. So I think if you're taking this class, you'll get to see that. It's really a wonderful, improved experience of watching the courses and getting all of the support information. So, okay. And thanks so much, you guys. Thanks for all the positive feedback and everything. I just really appreciate it. Feel all the love, and I send it back many, many times to you. We have a wonderful biofeedback tribe here. Let's all get really, really healthy and filled with vitality and just share that light with the world. So make sure you get signed up. And if you have any questions at all, anything that's stopping you from making that next step to go forward to be part of the class, which starts on Wednesday, and then we'll go live for 3 Wednesdays after that, get in touch with me so I can answer your questions, help you in any way. And we will also be recording them, and you will be able to watch them as many times as you want. You'll be able to go to our special class area where all of the downloads, including tonight's download and tonight's video, will already be available. And there is a high vibe nutrition panel that goes with this. So you'll actually be getting a testing panel called the High Vibe Nutrition Panel, and it has many, many wonderful affirmations on it. Like I do all things consciously and unconsciously to support the highest vibration in my being and things like that. And I productively turn all of my food into positive, wonderful chi energy. So you'll have a lot of fun with that testing panel. After you register, I'll make sure I send it to you. If I haven't sent it to you, Karen H., if I haven't sent it to you, do me a favor, just shoot me a message by email and say, hey, I didn't get my high vibe nutrition panel, or anyone else, and I will send it to you as well. So definitely get in touch with me, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you or answer any questions about the class. And we kind of lost Linda over on somewhere on there, so I'll have to talk to her and see if we convinced her about the fats yet. So any final questions? I hope everybody who's attended the class today is able to join. And again, do get in touch with me if you have any questions. We're starting next Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific. I really hope to see you there. Thank you again for being here tonight. I hope you got something out of the class tonight. Take care. Have a good night and be well. Bye-bye for now, everyone. Have a good night.